My name is Claire. I am 34 years old, a single mother to a bright, sensitive girl named Lily, and for the last decade, I have worked as a nurse in the cardiac unit of our city's busiest hospital. It is a job that demands everything from you: your sleep, your emotional stability, your time. You walk out of the hospital doors after a 12-hour shift, and you feel like a wrung-out washcloth, dry and crumpled. But I have always believed in the work. I believe in the beeping monitors and the sterile smell of sanitizer, because it means I am helping people survive. But survival isn't just about heart rates and blood pressure. Sometimes it's about the heart in a different way. It's about the heart of a family, or at least what I thought was the heart of a family. Until last Christmas, I operated under a delusion that most of us cling to: that family is a safety net. That when you trip, when you fall, when the weight of the world crushes your lungs, the people who share your DNA will be there to lift the burden. I was wrong. Every year, as far back as I can remember, my family rented a sprawling wooden house in the mountains, 2 hours north of our city. It was a postcard scene: vaulted ceilings, a stone fireplace that roared with heat, and floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over a valley of white pine trees. It was expensive, it was excessive, and it was the highlight of the year for my daughter, Lily. Lily had just turned 10 in October. She was at that magical age where the world hadn't yet hardened her. She still believed in the impossible magic of the season. She counted down the days starting in January. By summer, her school notebooks were filled with crayon drawings of the mountain house, sketches of the bunk beds she shared with her cousins, and lists of winter activities she wanted to do. For Lily, this trip wasn't just a vacation. It was her identity. It was the 1 week a year where she wasn't just the kid of a single mom working double shifts. She was a cousin, a granddaughter, a niece. She was part of the tribe. This year, however, the ground beneath me was shifting. November had been brutal. We had a surge of cardiac incidents, and I was picking up every extra shift I could legally take. I wasn't doing it for luxuries. I was doing it for the basics. Lily's winter boots from the previous year had a crack running through the sole. I noticed it on a rainy November day when she came home with wet, red toes. It broke my heart. A 10-year-old shouldn't have wet feet because her mom is struggling. So I worked myself to the bone, taking doubles, staying late, skipping meals, all to ensure that when December rolled around, I could afford the gas for the trip, the gifts for the family, and a brand new pair of waterproof, insulated winter boots for Lily. I remember the call with my mother vividly. It was early December. I was sitting in my car in the hospital parking lot, eating a granola bar that constituted my lunch. My mother called to confirm the logistics. "Of course we're coming," I told her, forcing energy into my voice despite the exhaustion weighing down my eyelids. "Lily would never forgive me if we missed it. She's already packed her bag, Mom. It's only December 5th. My mother laughed. It was a light, airy sound, the kind of laugh that belongs to someone who has never worried about a cracked shoe sole. "Perfect," she said. "Ryan and Karen are excited. The kids can't wait." That was the last normal conversation I would have for a long time. The last time I felt like I was part of the inner circle. The plan for December 23rd was etched in stone. I was to finish my shift at noon, race across town to pick up Lily from school, throw our suitcases into my aging sedan, and make the drive up the mountain. We aimed to arrive by 6, in time for the traditional Christmas Eve fondue dinner. It was a tight schedule, but it was manageable. It was our rhythm. But the universe, or perhaps just the cruel randomness of life, had a different schedule in mind. At 10 o'clock on the morning of the 23rd, the atmosphere on the ward changed. The air grew heavy. My charge nurse, a veteran named Sarah with tired eyes, pulled me into the break room. 2 nurses had called in sick, one with the flu, the other with a family emergency. In a cardiac unit, when you are short-staffed, people don't just wait longer for their dinner. They die. Monitors go unchecked. Medications are delayed. Chest pains go unnoticed. "I can't let you leave at noon, Claire," Sarah said, her voice low. "I need you until at least 6, maybe 7. I know it's Christmas Eve. I'm sorry." I felt the blood drain from my face. The logistics of my life, the delicate house of cards I had built to make this holiday work for Lily, came crashing down. But I looked at Sarah, and I looked at the floor chart. There were 32 patients on the wing, 12 of them critical. I couldn't walk out. I couldn't leave a nurse named Janet to manage 8 critical patients alone because I wanted to eat fondue. My ethics wouldn't let me. I took a deep breath, went to the locker room, and called my mother. I explained the situation clearly. I didn't beg, I just stated facts. "Mom, the ward is short. I can't leave until 7. It's dangerous for the patients." My mother's response was measured. "Oh, that's a shame, Claire, but I suppose you have to do what you have to do." I seized the opening. "Exactly. But listen, Ryan and Karen are driving up this afternoon, right? They pass right by our apartment. It's a 20-minute detour, maybe less. Could they swing by and grab Lily? That way she doesn't have to sit at the apartment alone for 4 hours waiting for me. She can be there for dinner with you guys." I heard my mother cover the phone and speak to someone in the background, the muffled sounds of a decision being made. When she came back, her voice had changed. It was sharper, firmer. "Claire, Ryan, and Karen have already packed the car. The kids are settled. They have a schedule. It throws everything off to detour now. Just bring her when you finish." I stood in the hospital corridor, the fluorescent lights buzzing above me like angry hornets. I felt a spike of panic. "Mom, did you hear me? I finish at 7. Lily gets out of school at 3. You want her to sit in an empty apartment for 4 hours on Christmas Eve." "She is 10, Claire," my mother said, her voice dripping with that specific brand of dismissive patience that mothers use when they think you are being hysterical. "She isn't a baby. She can watch television. She knows how to lock the door." I felt a heat rise in my chest that had nothing to do with the fever I was fighting off. It was pure, unadulterated shock. "It is Christmas Eve," I repeated, my voice shaking. "She is supposed to be with family." "You made a commitment to your job," my mother said. "I am not going to stress everyone out over this. We will see you when you get here." The line went dead. I stared at the phone in my hand. The screen was black. I felt small. I felt like a child being scolded for asking for too much. But I wasn't asking for much. I was asking for 20 minutes. I didn't have time to spiral. I called my brother, Ryan, directly. I thought, surely this is just Mom being difficult. Ryan is my big brother. He used to let me ride on the handlebars of his bike. He would understand. He answered on the second ring. I heard the chaotic, joyful noise of a road trip in the background. His kids were singing Jingle Bells off-key. Karen was laughing, the sound of wheels on pavement. "Hey, Claire, you on your way?" he shouted over the noise. "Ryan, listen," I said, my words tumbling out fast. "I'm stuck at work, critical shortage. I can't leave until tonight. Mom said you guys are on the road. Can you please swing by the apartment and get Lily? It's right off the highway. It would save her from being alone until dark." There was a pause. The background noise seemed to recede, as if he had turned down the radio. Then he sighed, a long, theatrical sigh. "Claire, we literally just passed the last exit before the long stretch of the highway," he said. "Karen already told the kids we'd be there by 5. I can't turn around now. It'll ruin the whole vibe." I want you to hold on to that word, vibe. My brother, the uncle of a little girl who idolized him, could not inconvenience himself for 20 minutes because it would ruin the vibe. He preferred his niece sit alone in a silent apartment on the holiest night of the year rather than adjust his playlist or arrive 45 minutes later. "Ryan," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes, "it's Christmas." "I know, and it sucks," he said, his voice casual, detached. "But we're in the groove now. Just drive safe, okay? See you tonight." He hung up. I stood there in the hall, a nurse in blue scrubs, surrounded by the beeping of machines and the shuffle of feet, and I felt a chill that no thermostat could fix. My entire family, my mother, my brother, my sister-in-law, had looked at the situation. They had weighed the happiness and safety of a 10-year-old girl against a slight delay in their schedule, and they had chosen the schedule. I had to fix this myself. I called my neighbor, Mrs. Callahan. She is 71 years old. She has a bad hip that makes walking to the mailbox a struggle. She lives alone. "Mrs. Callahan," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I'm in a terrible bind. Are you home?" "I'm right here, dear," she said, her voice like warm tea. "What's wrong?" I explained. I told her about the shift, about the family, about Lily being alone. "I'll go get her," she said instantly. "I'll walk over right now. Don't you worry about a thing, Claire. You do your job. I've got Lily." A 71-year-old woman with a bad hip said yes without blinking. My own blood said no without hesitating. I called the school and arranged for Lily to stay in the after-school program until Mrs. Callahan could shuffle over. Then, at 3:30, when I had a break, I called Lily. "Hey, baby," I said. "Mom," her voice was high, excited. "Are you picking me up? Are we going to the mountains?" My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. "No, sweetie, not yet. Grandma and Uncle Ryan are going to go straight there, but Mrs. Callahan is going to come pick you up. You're going to hang out at the apartment for a little while until Mommy finishes work. Okay." There was a silence on the line, a long, heavy silence. I could almost hear her processing it, the disappointment, the confusion. "Okay," she said finally. Her voice was smaller. "It's okay, Mom. I'll just watch a movie. I'll be fine." She was comforting me. My 10-year-old, who had been abandoned by her grandmother, was comforting me. Let me be clear about the safety aspect. We live in a secure building. Mrs. Callahan had a key. Lily knows the rules. She knows not to open the door for strangers. Practically, she was safe. But this was never about safety in the physical sense. It was about safety in the emotional sense. It was about the message my family was sending her. They were telling her that she was an afterthought, that she was a burden to be scheduled around. I finished my shift at 7:15. I didn't even change out of my scrubs. I just threw my coat on and ran to the car. I drove home, the streets slick with sleet, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I picked up Lily and Mrs. Callahan, thanked the elderly woman with a gift card I could barely afford, and loaded Lily into the car. We drove 2 hours in the dark. The wind howled against the windows. Lily fell asleep in the backseat about an hour in, her head lolling against the cold glass. I looked at her in the rearview mirror. Her face was pale. She looked so small. I thought about the vibe my brother was protecting. I thought about my mother's schedule. I let the anger simmer in my stomach, fueling my drive. It kept me warm when the heater in my old car struggled to keep up. We arrived at the mountain house at 9 o'clock. I could see the glow from the windows before I even parked the car. It was a beacon of warmth. Through the glass, I could see the tree lights twinkling. I could see figures moving, dancing, laughing. The music was audible even through the thick walls. I turned off the engine. I sat there for a moment in the silence. I looked back at Lily. "Hey, sleepyhead," I whispered. "We're here." She stirred, rubbing her eyes. She sat up, blinking, looking at the house. She saw the lights. She saw the joy. Are they having dinner?" she asked. "Probably just finishing, baby," I lied. We walked to the door. I opened it. The wave of heat and noise hit us like a physical wall. The house smelled of pine, melted cheese, and expensive wine. My brother's kids, my nieces and nephews, were running around in matching red and green plaid pajamas, screaming with laughter. My father was pouring wine at the counter. Karen was sitting by the fire, scrolling on her phone. Ryan was laughing loudly at something on the TV. They were in full swing. They had not waited. They had not saved a plate. They were simply enjoying their vibe. My mother looked up as the cold air from the open door rushed in. She saw us standing there, me in my wrinkled scrubs, my hair frizzy from the humidity, and Lily in her coat, clutching her small backpack, looking tired and rumpled. "Oh, good," my mother said, smiling broadly as if we had just popped out to get milk. "You made it." She turned back to her conversation with my aunt. She didn't walk over. She didn't hug Lily. She didn't say, "I'm so sorry you were alone, sweetheart." She didn't ask if I was tired. She didn't ask if we were hungry. Just, "Oh, good, you made it." Lily stood in the doorway. I watched her eyes scan the room. She saw the half-empty wine glasses. She saw the wrapping paper already being cleared away. She saw the party that had happened without her. She didn't cry. She didn't pout. She just walked in quietly, took off her boots, and sat down on the edge of the sofa, a little island of silence in a sea of noise. I watched her do it. I watched her make herself small. And something inside me, something that had been holding on to the hope of family for years, finally snapped. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in the guest room, listening to the snores of my relatives through the thin walls. I replayed the phone calls. I replayed the vibe. I replayed the oh, good. I felt a cold clarity washing over me. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a logistical error. This was who they were. They were people who cared more about their comfort than my child. And I had been dragging Lily into their world, desperate for her to feel included, while they treated her like an optional accessory. The next morning was Christmas. The house erupted in wrapping paper chaos. Lily opened her gifts. She smiled. She thanked her cousins. She was a good sport. She was performing the role of the grateful granddaughter while I watched, my stomach churning with acid. After the dust settled, while the kids went outside to play in the snow, I found my mother and Ryan in the kitchen. They were drinking coffee, relaxed, smug. I sat down at the table. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't want to ruin Christmas for Lily, but I needed them to know. I needed to say the words out loud. "I need to tell you both how yesterday felt," I said. My mother rolled her eyes before I even finished the sentence. "Claire, you are always so dramatic." Ryan shook his head, sipping his coffee. "We had already left, Claire. What were we supposed to do? Turn the car around on the highway? Be realistic?" Karen walked in, grabbing a muffin. She looked at me and shrugged. "Honestly, I thought it was fine. She's old enough to be alone for a few hours. You baby her." I looked at the three of them. The matriarch, the golden child, the compliant wife. They were unbothered. They were not racked with guilt. They genuinely believed they were right. They saw my pain as drama. They saw Lily's solitude as independence. There was no bridge to build here because they didn't even see the canyon. That is the moment I truly understood the concept of irreconcilable differences. It wasn't about the car ride. It was about a fundamental defect in their empathy. "Okay," I said, my voice was flat. "Okay." I stood up. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I had spent 34 years trying to explain my feelings to people who didn't have the capacity to understand them. I was done. I went outside and watched Lily. She was laughing with her cousins, her cheeks red from the cold, snowflakes caught in her eyelashes. She was resilient. She was amazing. And I realized I didn't want her to have to be resilient anymore. I wanted her to be cherished. We stayed for the rest of Christmas Day because Lily deserved that. But as the sun began to set and the shadows lengthened on the snow, I started packing the car. I didn't wait for the traditional leftovers lunch. I was ready to go. My mother came out onto the porch, wrapping her cardigan tighter around herself. "Leaving so soon?" she asked. "Same time next year then." I buckled Lily into the backseat. I tucked the blanket around her legs. I kissed her forehead. Then I closed the door softly. I turned to my mother, the woman who had birthed me, the stranger who had left my daughter alone. "No," I said, "I don't think so." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean, it's tradition?" "I mean," I said, my voice steady as a rock, "that I spent the entire month of December working double shifts, destroying my body so that Lily could have Christmas with this family. And when I needed 20 minutes of help, when I needed my family to show up for my child just once, no one moved. So next year, Lily and I will make our own tradition, one where she isn't an afterthought, one where she is the priority." My mother's face hardened. "You are overreacting. You're going to break your father's heart." "Maybe," I said, "but this is the decision I am making." I got in the car. I drove away. I watched the mountain house shrink in the rearview mirror until it was just a speck of light in the dark woods. The drive home was quiet. The anger had drained away, replaced by a strange mix of grief and relief. I felt like I had cut a heavy weight off my ankle. After an hour of silence, Lily spoke up from the backseat. "Mom." "Yeah, babe." "Can we get a real tree next year, just for our apartment?" I gripped the steering wheel. She wasn't asking for the mountain house. She wasn't asking for the cousins. She was asking for us. "Absolutely," I said, my voice cracking. "And can we make hot chocolate from scratch, not the packet kind?" "Yes, sweetie, we can do that." She thought about it for a moment. Then, in the most genuine voice I had heard her use all weekend, she said, "I think that sounds better anyway." I didn't answer because my throat was too tight, but I nodded. And I meant it. That was 10 months ago. This is where the revenge happens. Not with a scream, but with a silence that speaks louder than any argument ever could. This December, my mother called. The first time I let it go to voicemail. She left a message, her voice brittle and demanding. "Claire, we need to confirm the head count for the mountain house. Call me back." I deleted it. The second time she texted, "Are you coming? The kids are asking." I didn't reply. Ryan sent a message a week later. "Mom is freaking out. Are you guys coming or what? The kids want to see Lily." I looked at the text. I thought about the vibe. I thought about the 71-year-old neighbor who walked on a bad hip. I thought about the wet boots I worked double shifts to replace. I typed a reply. "Lily is doing great. We have other plans this year." Then I blocked the number for the holiday season. Because this year, while they are up in that cold, drafty mountain house, drinking their wine and maintaining their schedule, Lily and I will be in our small, warm apartment. We picked out a small, imperfect tree from a lot 3 blocks away. It smells like pine sap and rain. We bought heavy cream, real cocoa powder, and cinnamon sticks. We are going to make hot chocolate that smells like heaven. We are going to watch the Polar Express in our pajamas until we fall asleep. The revenge is not that they are miserable. They probably aren't. They probably still think I'm dramatic. The revenge is that they lost us. They lost access to Lily. They lost the right to watch her grow up, to see her face on Christmas morning, to be part of her joy. They traded a 10-year-old girl's heart for a convenient schedule, and they paid the price. The price was us. They will walk into the mountain house this year. They will see the empty room where we usually sleep. They will notice the silence where Lily's laugh used to be. They will realize that the drama wasn't just noise, it was a warning. And when they sit down to their dinner, perfectly on time, with no detours, they will be the ones sitting alone. Resilience is a funny thing. We praise children for having it. We say, "Kids are tough, they bounce back." And they do. Lily bounced back faster than I did. But I realized something crucial on that drive home. Resilience is a survival mechanism, not a parenting goal. You shouldn't have to teach a 10-year-old to survive her own family. You shouldn't have to teach her that her feelings are an inconvenience to be swallowed. The mountain house will be full again this year. There will be music, matching pajamas, and wine glasses on the counter. There will be a schedule, and it will be perfectly kept. But there will be a hollowness to it, a gap in the circle that they can't fill with vibes or wine. And somewhere else, in a small apartment that smells of cocoa and cinnamon, a mother and daughter are building something new. We are building a life where family isn't defined by blood, but by who shows up when it matters. We are building a tradition where no one is left behind. I know which Christmas I would rather be at. I know which memory will last. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not just surviving the holidays, I'm enjoying them. So what do you think? Did I make the right call? Should I have swallowed my pride and let them treat us like second-class citizens for the sake of family unity? Or was walking away the only way to protect my daughter from a lifetime of being an afterthought? I read every single comment, and I want to hear your stories. Have you ever had to cut ties with family during the holidays? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, if you believe that boundaries are the highest form of self-respect, please smash that like button. It helps this channel grow and tells the algorithm that these stories matter. And if you want to hear more stories about standing your ground and finding peace, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I have plenty more where this came from. Thank you for listening. Stay strong, set your boundaries, and remember, you teach people how to treat you. See you in the next video.